Tyler Perry's new Netflix movie Straw has been dominating the streamers' charts in various countries this week, and leaving audiences reeling after its shocking ending. Sitting at the top of the Netflix charts in countries including the United States, Canada, Mexico, Ireland, Nigeria, and South Africa, Straw is a psychological thriller about a mother who has been pushed to the edge. Anchored by a jaw-dropping performance by Taraji P. Henson, reviews for Straw have been mixed on the film, with many praising the story's twist ending. Straw begins with Janiyah waking up at the start of the worst day of her life. As the lead in this Tyler Perry movie, Janiyah is a single mother who cares for her daughter and her community. When she tries to give a pittance to Benny, however, her landlord sees and calls her out for her late rent, threatening her with eviction. She is then berated by her boss and fired, loses her daughter to child services, and has her car impounded. This leads to a psychological break, a complex murder, and Janiyah accidentally holding up a bank. Straw's big twist explained. Janiyah's daughter Aria was dead. How the movie teased it. The biggest twist in Straw occurs near the end of the film, where, before leaving the bank, Janiyah receives a call from her mother, Dolores.
Janiyah. What? She died.
In this call, Janiyah cries about the importance of her daughter, Aria, which leads to Dolores reminding her that Aria passed away in the hospital the night before. This reframes the events of the entire movie, and a significant flashback sequence plays, which reveals that Aria, seen during the beginning of the film, was only in Janiyah's imagination. In these flashbacks, Janiyah is seen going through the motions of an ordinary day, but her daughter is not there. Rather than dropping Aria off at school at the beginning of the film, Janiyah opens the back door of her car and speaks to a person who isn't there. This brings important context to many of the scenes throughout the film, showing that Janiyah's descent into madness was a much more disturbing process than it seemed. More than just a terrible day, Janiyah was already on the cusp of madness due to the weight of her loss. She still committed murder. Straw takes an interesting look at themes of power. Janiyah is clearly without much of her own and is berated constantly throughout the film. Characters like her landlord and her boss, Richard, are struggling in their own ways, but they use their power over Janiyah as an opportunity to alleviate some of their own hurt by inflicting it upon her. This results in a harrowing introduction to the film, where Janiyah, who is only struggling to survive and to look after her daughter, is insulted and threatened and verbally abused. It is difficult to say that justice is served at the film's end, because all of this culminates in Janiyah being loaded into a police car and being taken to prison. There is some solace in knowing about her psychological break due to the loss of her daughter, which may result in a lower sentence. But there is still punishment awaiting Janiyah. Understanding these legal structures, it becomes clear that what Straw is about, as explained by Tyler Perry to Netflix, is less the result for Janiyah and more about allowing underrepresented people to escape from being silenced. Janiyah says in the script, "Nobody sees us." There's a contingent of people walking around on this planet who feel that way, and especially ones who look like her and are in her position. There are some other important factors to consider, however. Most importantly, with the police officer who ran Janiyah off the road at the beginning of the story. He uses his institutional power to protect himself when her car is being impounded and even threatens her. This leads to the other officer hiding his actions. Fortunately, both of them are found out by the end of the story, due to Janiyah's speaking up, and it appears that some kind of justice will be administered. Why Janiyah becomes a symbol to others. Raymond, Nicole, and the crowd are on her side. There are some positive outcomes that result from Janiyah's actions. This can be best seen in the character of Nicole, played by Sherry Shepherd. Near the beginning of the film, Janiyah attempts to withdraw money from her account and finds some difficulty with Nicole due to bureaucratic processes that must be followed. Nicole clearly does not wish to antagonize Janiyah and even expresses a level of care towards her, but does not take the initiative to help her more directly. "My husband, I don't know what I would do." Other characters seem to feel the same in the movie. When footage of Janiyah makes its way onto the internet, people throughout the city come together to support her, forming a protest outside the bank. Circumstances have made surviving as a single mother so much more difficult, and it is such a common experience that characters like Detective Raymond and the many people in the crowd use it as a point of connection. This awareness is spread through the film, highlighting the impact of Janiyah's plight. How Straw examines the difficulties of being a single mother. Raymond and Nicole both provide important empathy. There have been many powerful movies about single mothers over the years, and Straw confronts the inherent difficulties of this experience head-on. Janiyah is the anchor of the film, and her relationship with her daughter is given significant focus in the introduction, giving purpose to every one of the protagonist's actions. All that Janiyah wishes to do is to give Aria a good life, but the circumstances that surround her make that difficult. Characters like Richard harp on about how Janiyah's daughter and poverty are not his problem, highlighting the real-world issues the film hopes to confront. Being a single mother is not easy, and this becomes exacerbated by difficult economic conditions. Janiyah struggles even to pay her rent and does not have the opportunities available to her that would allow her to better look after her daughter. Much of her struggle has to do with simply acquiring $40 so that Aria can have lunch. This examination resonates with Detective Raymond, a single mother herself, who becomes a strong ally throughout Straw, empathizing with Janiyah and helping her get out alive. Community and support from others are essential for everyone. The real meaning of Straw's ending. Grief is a core theme. The twist at the end of Straw feels slightly unnecessary to the film's themes. However, in attempting to put together a narrative like this, it might have been the only way to ensure genuine sympathy for Janiyah. Many people have had terrible days, and it can be hard to justify killing your boss and holding a bank hostage as a result. Although Straw does a surprisingly effective job of getting the audience on Janiyah's side. However, considering a grief that has driven Janiyah to a state of madness, it is much easier to support her actions. Without the loss of Aria, the film's ending would be tragic in a different way, setting up the daughter for a difficult life. There are two other reasons why Janiyah losing her daughter was necessary. The first is practical. The film ends with Janiyah going to prison, and this would be much more tragic if she were abandoning her daughter in doing so. While Janiyah speaks with Nicole earlier in the film about taking Aria until she gets out, Nicole does not seem to have the capacity to do so, reiterating the film's themes about the difficulties of motherhood. Without the loss of Aria, the film's ending would be tragic in a different way, setting up the daughter for a difficult life. Instead, the circumstances at the end of the movie seem at least slightly hopeful. While Janiyah is going to prison for her actions, there is clearly great support behind her on different levels. Detective Raymond cares, Nicole cares, and the public cares, and this could be a help to her during her trial. In addition, due to the grief Janiyah was experiencing in Straw, she will likely be tried differently and hopefully even supported by the legal system. With a plea of insanity, Janiyah will likely get the help she needs and will hopefully be released sooner rather than later. Thanks for watching.